Shalom, my brothers. I truly pray all is well with you and your families. Today, I want to speak on something that is quietly dismantling too many good men. It's the inability to refuse an argument. No matter how long we've been with a woman, 5 years, 15 years, or 27 years of marriage like Nicole and I, many men still allow themselves to be baited into pointless emotional battles. A few months ago, out of nowhere, I looked at Nicole and said, I don't want to argue anymore. What made that moment profound is that we weren't arguing. There was no tension. There was no misunderstanding. It was simply clarity. If after 27 years of marriage, we still cannot communicate with love and a way toward unity, then we don't have an argument problem. We have a alignment problem. And this is where many men fall. They allow their emotions to outrun their mission, their ego to outrank their wisdom, and their pride to pull them into an area where their words become weapons instead of tools. Instead of responding like a seasoned lawyer, measured, precise, and grounded, they start squatting beneath their own standards. It is written in Proverbs chapter 15, verse 1, that a gentle answer turns away wrath, but harsh words stir up anger. Yah isn't calling us men to passivity. He's calling us to live a disciplined life, one that has power, love, and a sound mind. A man who cannot master his emotions in heated moments will never cultivate peace in his relationships. But what about the moments when your gentle answer doesn't immediately turn away wrath, when the person you're speaking to is still governed by their anger, pride, fear, unhealed wounds, and stubbornness? In those moments, don't abandon Yah's standards. You anchor yourself to them instead. Stand resolute in your position and principles. And trust me, my brothers, the wrath aimed at you will either lose its power or you will wisely remove yourself from her presence. Your responsibility is not to calm someone else's storm. That's Yahushua's role. Your responsibility is to remain aligned with whom you've committed to becoming in Yah. A comprehensive man understands that peace is not secured by controlling a woman's reaction, but by controlling his own response to it. When Nicole and I first started dating, we argued a lot. So much so that her father once sat us down and implied that we should break up. Even he could see what we couldn't at the time. The arguments really weren't the issue. It was the wounds beneath them. My unresolved trauma collided with Nicole's anxious attachment style. And that mixture doesn't produce communication, my brothers. It sparks explosions. Nicole and I used to have so many emotional triggers that as soon as one of us was offended by our actions or words, we would pull out our guns of the past and start blasting, start shooting each other from our unhealed wounds. Our marriage therapist called us trigger happy, which the dictionary defines as recklessly advocating action that can result in war, or in this case, marital discord. But thankfully, over a decade of consistent therapy, spiritual growth, and emotional discipline, we developed a rhythm where we were able to reconcile when either of us was wrong, and more importantly, was able to put the guns of our past away. But in full transparency, there are moments today where I feel that tug, the temptation to defend ego, to prove a point in order to win. In those moments, I've learned to wean my soul like the warrior David did, because not every emotion deserves expression and not every disagreement deserves escalation. For it is written in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 23, that everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. If you're dating a woman or are married and you desire for better communication and faster reconciliation, my brothers, stop arguing and start strategizing. If the conflict keeps repeating, please get help. Marriage psychotherapy, especially faith-based, is very different from counseling alone. Counseling offers, or now better yet, counseling often trims the visible leaves of the problem, but psychotherapy digs until it finds the root of the weed. Counseling may teach you communication techniques, but psychotherapy reveals why you communicate the way you do. Counseling helps you navigate the moment, but psychotherapy helps you understand the moments that shaped you. So if counseling doesn't bring alignment, pursue marriage therapy or marriage psychotherapy that examines childhood wounds, attachment styles, trauma responses, emotional triggers, and patterns you've carried your entire life. And if after all of that, the relationship still cannot sustain peace, well, I don't think any relationship can sustain peace, but where you don't have more frequent moments of peace in the relationship, then you owe it to your future to make a decision instead of recycling a cycle. And I want to be very clear here. I'm speaking to men who aren't married in that last statement. If you're married, do everything that you can to save it. And you got to understand too, and I know this is very tough for many of us who are in possibly volatile relationships, to always keep the will of the Most High in front of us when our emotions are saying exit. So truly pray. And I wouldn't dare in this moment try to act like I understand what you're going through when I don't even know you. But I truly pray that you would seek his will in everything and truly question if you're waving a white flag before you've lost all of the fight in you to keep fighting for your marriage. I've been there many of days. Nicole has been there many of days where we didn't know if we could continue, but we knew that there was too much to lose if we didn't fight and give our all to maintaining a marriage. For it is written in 1 Corinthians, I believe, chapter 10, verse 31, that in everything we do, whether we eat, whether we drink, we are to do it unto Yah, the Most High. Nicole and I put our marriage in that verse as well. We want to fight. We don't want to leave anything on the table. And when you really can check ego and pride, and you have faith-based psychotherapy and friends who are married to help you push through those difficult times, you end up staying longer than your emotions want you to. You end up fighting by the Spirit instead of fleeing by your feelings. And let me warn you about one of the greatest traps of modern relationships. Arguing through text messages. Texting is the perfect breeding ground for misinterpretation because emotions, in my opinion, can't be conveyed through pixels. Let me give you a good example, real life example. One Thanksgiving evening after visiting our family, I told Nicole I was leaving early to get back to writing my book. I believe it was at the time Battle Cry. Moments into my drive home, I received a pointed text message from Nicole. She texted, "You shouldn't have left without speaking to me." I was very confused because I did tell her I was leaving, so I replied, "Nicole, I told you I was leaving." Would you believe within a matter of seconds, we went back and forth, back and forth. "Yes, I did." "No, you didn't." "Yes, I did." "No, you didn't." I'm pulled over on the side of the road, texting her back and forth instead of calling her. And suddenly, two grown adults with, I believe at the time, 24 years of marriage under our belts were acting or arguing like teenagers, not because of truth, but because of our emotions being misconstrued over text. See, when you text during conflict, you abandon presence, you forfeit tone, you lose nuance, you trade connection for convenience. And convenience is a terrible substitute, my brothers, for communication. That night taught me something essential. If the conversation truly matters, pick up the phone and speak to that person. This is where a principle I teach at the Cave of Adullam comes in. It's called combat communication, and I've talked about it here on many videos. In martial arts, when you engage with an opponent, you don't swing emotionally. You don't kick emotionally. You don't shoot for a double leg emotionally. You analyze before. You measure. You respond strategically. You remain grounded. If that's important in combat, my brothers, how much more in marriage? The very battleground where Satan relentlessly attacks because it's the greatest threat to his kingdom of darkness. Text messaging makes combat communication impossible because you cannot read the body language, the tone, or emotional shifts. It turns two people who love each other into digital shadows reacting to half-truths, slaves to their emotions in a moment instead of truly being locked in to that moment. But I'm grateful for where Nicole and I am now. We don't let the sun go down on unresolved issues. And you could find that the scripture for that principle in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26. And again, to my point about moments when your gentle answer doesn't immediately turn away wrath. I recall a time one man reached out to me in regard to him and his wife having discord. He asked me if he should go and try to resolve the conflict with her, even though she didn't seem interested in reconciling. I asked him one simple question. Do you want to win? He responded quickly, yes. I then shared with him a principle Nicole and I have practiced in our home for years. Someone has to be willing to cross the line. Someone has to take the first humble step toward peace. It took humility, it took practice, and it took commitment to grow both individually and together. My brothers, if you want good communication, maturity, and mutual respect in your relationship, here are 5 foundational principles I live by. Number 1, active listening. Listen to understand, not to fire back. Slow down, my brothers, in the heat of the moment. Regulate your breathing and repeat back what you heard to ensure you're responding to her reality and not your own assumptions. Number 2, don't avoid hard conversations. My brothers, I know you want peace, but you will never have it by running from war. You have to face conflict. Silent resentment eventually becomes loud destruction, my brothers. Address the issue within 24 hours so that resentment can't ferment into bitterness or create narratives that shouldn't have existed. Number 3, it's one word, empathy. Seek her perspective before defending your own. Before speaking, ask yourself, what wound or fear might she be reacting from? I keep a picture of Nicole in my phone when she was, I believe, 7 years old. It was during a time that birthed her anxious attachment style, where things in her home weren't, I guess, the most stable during that time in her life. And so I keep that picture for times when she and I are either not in agreement or just there's some discord. And I try to think of the little Nicole that is reacting in that moment. And number 4, compassion over condemnation. Speak from what you need, not accusation. Share how her actions made you feel without attacking her character, because correction lands best when dignity is preserved. I learned that the hard way, but now that I've got it, my brothers, I always make sure that I'm not communicating with Nicole in a way that is condemning her. And that took a lot of time for me to really process and develop because I grew up with my father who was very condemning. And so, sometimes those patterns are transferred down to our parenting and who we are in our marriage as spouses. And lastly, number 5, apologize and forgive quickly. Pride prolongs suffering. I'm going to say that again, my brothers. Pride prolongs suffering. but humility heals. Take responsibility for your part without excuses and forgive hers without holding resentment, because unresolved tension weakens the foundation you're trying to build. I'm not saying, my brothers, that you let her get away with disrespecting you or not keeping her word. I'm not saying that at all. Hence why I'm telling you, don't go silent. Speak up. However, there's a way to do it that brings Yah, the Most High, glory and brings reconciliation to your marriage. For it is written in Ephesians chapter 4, verses 31 and 32, that we are to get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, harsh words, and slander, as well as all types of evil behavior. Instead, my brothers, we are to be kind to each other, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, just as Yah, the Most High, does us through Christ, who has forgiven us for our sins. So stop arguing with her. Set the standard. Lead the moment. Protect the peace Yah gave you that surpasses all chaos. As always, my brothers, I hope this video encouraged you. If you want to be notified when I upload another one, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. But if you're ready, like many of the brothers who watch my videos here on YouTube, to go deeper, if you want to be trained by me and walk shoulder to shoulder with a community of brothers seeking to become comprehensive men and learn more about combat communication, then join my Patreon Brotherhood. The link is in the description below. Until next time, my brothers, keep growing, keep building, and keep striving to be the man the moment demands. Shalom.